state of AOM. How does China feel? I find that this addition to the game, this DLC, I've heard wonderful things about the campaign, but also gameplay wise, multiplayer. China is, in my opinion, probably the most fun civ so far out of all the different pantheons and civilizations. It's because it has the most unique mechanics out of all, and it has the most tools out of every single civ. But that doesn't mean they are in a good state at the moment. They feel very fun to play, but they are a bit too strong. I feel like they need some toning down, especially with the upcoming EGC TV tournament, which is a big World's Edge sponsored tournament, along with EGC TV, of course. This Civ is not looking too healthy in competitive aspects because it's simply too overtuned in some things. Just to list a few, we could start with the Great Flood. Feels way too powerful. It's doing everything, every single mythical age god power that's in the game. It basically does all of those things in one god power, which is making it like a free win god power right now. And this has made people not even want to really play multiplayer because of fear of running into this god power on repeat. Another thing that's been a big discussion is the Earth Wall. This singular classical age god power can pretty much deny any form of aggression from your opponent, or if they choose to be aggressive and overextend even slightly, you will trap their army and kill all of them, which results in such a big lead, because usually when you're trapping them, you're going to trap them right next to a town center and they won't really have enough time to get out of it. This god power right now gives you just too much freedom to do what you want. You can just get a town center, get this up, and you'll basically be immune to attacks from there on and do whatever you want. And what you currently want to do with China is get to Great Flood, but that's not the only strong aspect of this. There are more things with this Earth Wall that's been happening. You have some people who are doing tower rushes with this incredibly overpowered tech. What was it called? Advanced defenses or something. So this means that you can now get this as soon as you age up, go into your opponent's or near your opponent's base, drop a house, anything, drop an earth wall on top of that house, block them off of that gold mine, and then spam wall chips that will turn into towers. This is an incredibly toxic style of gameplay. I'm not saying this is not like counterable. It's just not fun to play against, right? You don't really want to play against this. It takes out the fun out of the game. And this is just not my opinion. This is the opinion of the people. You know, I speak for the people when I say these things. It's not just me. But I also feel very strongly about this. I think you also have your archaic age god power clay peasants, which now means that you don't even actually have to invest any resources on going forward and using your own villagers to drop a house, drop some wall chips or anything. You simply just use this. And not only that, this in combination with the earth wall, even if you skip the advanced defenses part, you can trap your opponents, let's say wood villagers, and then drop the clay peasant, because these guys do I think 7.5 damage and they have 100 health. So this is kind of insane. No, you can pick off 4 to 5 villagers early on in the game. This isn't a fun way of playing these things combined, and this is obviously Nuwa specific, but Shannon can also do this earth wall and advanced defenses, but for Nuwa, for the clay peasant, you obviously have to be Nuwa, right? Another thing is, I mean, there's lots of things, but let's keep on listing them. This little beast dragon, this little noodle, water noodle, 4 or 5 of those, not even 4 or 5, 3 of those is enough to wipe an army on repeat. On repeat, and villagers. These guys are just too strong. They do too much for how little they cost. And even if they were expensive, they're still worth it because they just do so much damage. They wipe out armies over and over again with each special attack. So you just run forward, user special, run back, and plus they're flying units, so it's hard to catch them. Plus they're 5.3 speed. It's even harder to catch them. This also needs some looking into, hoping to see some things being done. I will go over all of these after and suggest some changes we could do. Make the game better, or hopefully, go in the right direction at least. So, another thing we can talk about is Fey Beasts. For those who watch my stream, you've both seen me fall victim to the Fey Beast and victimizing people with the Fey Beast. And honestly, it's just silly how good they are. This is like, I don't think there's a single heroic god power better than this right now. They can kill villagers, they can kill entire armies. They're just too good. And it's only a heroic age god power. And the thing is with, let's say, Nuwa, it just gives you like all of these reasons is why Nuwa is so good. Like, let's say you go Nuwa, you go into your goal is Great Flood and King Long, right? But first you have the Earth Wall to stall your opponent, and then you have Fey Beast to kill and put your opponent's either his economy behind or his units die that are attacking you. So this also leads back to you being able to get Great Flood, And then once you do get to Mythic, you get 25 villagers from Clay Peasant that will boost your economy significantly. So this is actually like the way this things are playing out is very toxic for the players playing against it. I'm sure whoever's doing this is having a good old time. I did this for a bit. I admit I did have a fun time, but after a while it just gets old because there is no skill expression there. I don't feel good. I don't feel like I'm playing the game better than my opponent. I just feel like I'm abusing, There isn't any skill there. Uh, but yeah, what else can we think of that's really good? Many people don't know about this yet because Great Flood is the center of attention, but Blazing Prairie is OP. This also needs some looking into because right now, this is what Earthquake wishes it was, right? But this is what Earthquake is right now times 10. You can take a town center, you can put Citadel Center on it, you can get architects, and then you can put 10 Migdals around that town center, and Blazing Prairie will still wipe everything out. So this is obviously a bit too much of a problem, and it also kills units and villagers if they're there. So it's doing a bit too much. I feel like it needs an identity. Same with the Great Flood. What else can we look for to point out? Let me have a look. Oh, yeah. Another thing we can add here, the Chonky, the little tiger in Classical Age, you get also from Hutu, which is Earth Wall. This guy can take down anything. This myth unit is too good in the Classical Age. It's by far the best Classical Age myth unit. And it also needs some toning down, doing too much. You have the Yahtzee, who can actually 3-shot heroes. You can 3-shot Hersers, Pioneers, anything. If you have 3 Yahtzees, I believe this might be unintended. I don't think they have a negative multiplier against heroes, which means that they will just kill heroes if you get a big enough number. But yeah, so I've pointed out the main things I find problematic, and I am going to go over some possible solutions for them right now. Just what I think could maybe make it a better thing to play against instead of being completely oppressive. We can start with the Great Flood, okay? I believe the Great Flood right now is doing everything, right? It's doing everything and more. It needs an identity where it's either going to kill buildings and units, but not as much of both. It can do all of it. Right now it kills buildings, units, and villagers. And trees, by the way. For some reason, they actually delete the trees. So you can get wood starved from this god power. I don't know if that's intended or not, but that also should probably change. They should get knocked down like implode and not actually removed from the game. But yeah, so right now you have it doing insane building damage, insane damage to units, and insane damage to villagers. It should do one thing really good, the second thing mediocre, and the third thing it shouldn't really do. I feel like having all three at the top just makes this god power a no-brainer. And the width and reach of this thing, it can reach from a second town center all the way to your main town center. So my possible solution for this would be make it so that villagers do not get displaced from Great Flood, and they have a cap on how much damage they take so that they don't actually die. Because right now, one of the bigger problems I see is that once someone Great Floods your villagers, they all get displaced if they get caught or die. And when you're supposed to put them back on resources, now you suddenly have to defend an attack while trying to, allocate your villagers to different resources. And I don't really like that. Like, it's just too strong. I mean, so that's why one of my suggestions could possibly be don't let the Great Flood displace villagers and don't let them do that much damage. Maybe have them do 20 damage, or the initial wave does damage to them, like 25 damage, right? Another one could be reduce its building. So one, if we're going the villager route, I would probably say reduce the building damage by 50%, the damage it does to buildings, because right now it wipes everything but a town center and a baule. Sometimes it wipes a baule out as well. But right now, this does what Great Flood plus the Drought God Power should do by itself. So toning down the building damage by 50% would help, but you would still need to tone down the range of this, of how far it goes. So that's another thing. You could also make it slower, so people have time to react, to move out of the way. Lots of different options to tune this god power down. I don't want to stay on it for too long, but that's my opinion for it. For this guy though, I cannot quite understand if it's a bug or if it's intended, but if you manually cast a special attack on something that is not a unit but next to a unit, I think that does the intended amount of damage, which is 15 divine damage to everything around the special attack. But if you click a unit and it does a special attack, I think it does 50 pierce damage to everything around or inside that special attack. So I'm not quite sure if this is intended or not, but this myth unit does need nerfing, either in the movement speed department, the range department, or the damage department. If you're going to keep it like a hyper carry kind of myth unit, then at least make it vulnerable by having very small range, so people can react to raids or react to a dragon coming into their army to wipe them out. But yeah, these guys, the Fabies, the bane of everyone's existence right now in ladder. These guys are 6.5 movement speed. They're incredibly hard to kill in an actual fight, and they are killers of both armies and villagers. They do everything. They need an identity that isn't like everything. Either they're somewhat good at killing villagers or they're somewhat good at killing army. But they shouldn't be very, very good at killing villagers and very, very good at killing armies. I think a good solution would be pick a lane and make it still nerf it. In whatever lane it's in, it still needs a nerf on the damage, but it should still do something. And the movement speed is too high. 6.5 movement speed is a bit too high for something this good. This also needs some form of toning down. The Earth Wall. This is basically what enables most of these things to happen because you cannot actually be aggressive. So starting with this one, I believe I like the concept of the God Power. I think they've done a good idea with it, but I think it's a bit too strong. It traps armies. It keeps armies out, and it has too high pierce damage. So if you're trying to take it down from range, unless you have siege, if you're like early game using archers to kill it down, it's just gonna take you too long, right? And if you're like using melee units, obviously the other guys on the other side can use pioneers or any form of archer to defend, which means your units are taking too much damage while you're trying to go through the wall. One thing I would probably change about this to actually make it less risky to punish if someone goes through this god power is make it so that it takes 15 seconds before the walls come up. This makes it so that the player who's being aggressive has enough time to back off and counterplay by standing at the edge of the wall and taking them down as they come up. And in return for this, you can keep them permanent. Okay? The other thing is you can make them tankier, but you can't. The biggest problem with this god power is right now the trapping of units. That needs to go, in my opinion. It shouldn't exist. You shouldn't be this heavily punished for and trying to be aggressive. So that needs to go. That's first and foremost. But the how you fix it after is either if it's gonna take 15 seconds to come up, you can heavily buff the stats on it and make it last for 2 minutes, or you can nerf the stats on it and make it last permanently. But right now it's a bit too good. Next, advanced defenses. This one is a bit tricky, right? You shouldn't be able to turn towers or wall chips into towers immediately. I think that's just insane late game and early game cheesing and insane late game like ability to just snowball a game with stuff like this on the trade route. So that needs to go. It needs to take some time before the tower comes up. If this doesn't get completely reworked, it should have some time before the tower comes up, around maybe 45 seconds. But even now, I think it's still too little. It should be at least 60 seconds before the tower actually pops up. Clay Peasants. This one needs a nerf for sure. 100 health villagers that do 7.5 damage is too insane. Either have them at like 20 health with the 7.5 damage, or remove the ability to attack anything with them. They shouldn't be 100 health and 7.5 attack damage. That's just too much. They should either have no capability or ability to attack at all and be tanky, or they should not be tanky and they should be able to attack, but not both. Right now they're both. One of them needs to go. And you also need to, like, 25 villagers in Mythic Age is too much. You are basically losing resources if you are not age jumping with Nuwa. The faster you get to Mythic Age and the faster you use this, the more value, you get from it. And plus the recast is super cheap. 75 favor for 25 villagers enables you to do so much. Another thing with this is I think this should only be able to be cast on favored land or next to a town center. Let that be a village center, town center, anything. But it should not be anywhere on the map that is not favored land, because then bad stuff can happen. Another thing we could quickly discuss is the hero Wafu. This absolute beast of a unit needs some tending to. Right now, this unit does everything. It builds super fast. It does insane amounts of damage. It's like just too much. You cannot do anything against a Nuwa because this enables Nuwa to do everything. This is the reason Nuwa can get a second town center without getting punished. This is the reason Nuwa can go to heroic. This is the reason Nuwa can get to mythic so safely, because there isn't really a way to harass them, because they just kill everything. They two-shot. They two-shot the what's it called? Centaurs, for God's sake. Two-shotting a centaur. And this is they three-shot them in archaic, by the way. My solution, my idea for fixing this is keep it as it is, or and make it available in heroic age. Okay, not archaic, not classical, but heroic age. So you cannot research this tech until you're in the heroic age. This means that now Nuwa can suddenly be punished for going for a greedy town center. Nuwa can, so people can be aggressive against Nuwa early on and put her behind, and just opens up more opportunities to actually do damage to Nuwa if this is in the heroic age. But if we're gonna keep it in archaic or classic, then I would probably nerf one of the 4 things it can do. Right now, it can do insane amounts of damage to any unit, insane amounts of damage to myth units. It can build super fast, and it can gather extremely quickly. It does everything right now. This is the ultimate unit, and it's too good for what it does. And the fact that it only costs 100 food and 20 favor is just too much. I mean, too little, but like the fact that it costs that little, it's just too, you get too much for what you pay. But yeah, all these things I'm mentioning, by the way, these are like the insane aspects of China right now. Blazing Prairie, this one has been not tended to as much. I was very quick to notice how broken this god power is. But everyone's so hyper focused on Great Flood that they don't know that this thing exists. But this thing is actually stronger than Great Flood in a concentrated area. So if your guy has like I said, a Citadel Center with like 5-6 Migdos there, just pop this down and the game is over. They lost like 5k resources in like 10 seconds. It's actually insane how good this is. Like I said, this is what Earthquake wishes to be, and it's too good at what it does. It needs a cap on how much damage it does to stuff. And we have the classical age myth unit from Hutu, and it's Chongqi. And this guy pretty much solos everything. If this is the case and you want to keep the uniqueness to this, then you need to nerf the damage significantly and let them be a chonky, tanky boy instead of being tanky flying unit that can pretty much make people's heads spin, because you cannot kill it quickly, and it does insane damage to your villagers if it actually lands and you're not paying attention, and it's just too oppressive. And this is only with one Chongqi. People can make several, and then you start having a headache. And then last but not least, the Yahtzee. This guy is quite strong and not much counterplay for some civs. I think there might be a bug related to him where he can 3-shot heroes with 3 of them, like 1-shot heroes with 3 of them, and I think they just don't have a negative multiplier in their special attack against them. But other than these things, like even with these things, China feels super fun, but these are just things that I would like to see toned down in the power level. I think everything is like, I think the Civ itself is amazingly fun to play. I think they're great, and you need to edit this out. But guys, there is no fucking way I'm gonna talk about the heroes. I'm gonna keep the heroes as China, no matter what you say. So trust me, I know the heroes are busted, but I'm keeping them. Those are my heroes. I don't care. I am keeping that hero stun. I am keeping that hero stun, and I'm keeping the Neza, and I'm keeping the John Wick hero. I have been subject to getting victimized as Greeks for too long, and now I get some heroes I can play with. I am gonna play with them until a couple more months, and then they can take them away. Everything. Neza stays. John Wick stays. The new Mythic Age hero stays. So I know what you guys are saying, and I do agree with all of you, but I'm not gonna mention it. I'm gonna be biased towards the heroes, because you guys also have to think that Once these things get nerfed, China won't have much to go off of. So at least letting them keep the heroes for now still gives them something in each age. So going so aggressively as to asking for everything to be nerfed will probably result in a civ in the end that nobody will want to play because they will feel weak. Does that make sense? Anyway, back to the thing. Right, so I think China is great. I think the design is really fun. I think everything they have is really fun. I like their uniqueness. I like their passives. I think their heroes are perfect, actually, like perfectly balanced. I'm just very much enjoying them.